A lot of hate for that. Um,
Oh, really?
oh yeah. No, I got called like a disgrace to black metal. I got called like, a woke coward. I got called, I had people like making like, oh, but but this, and this, like really just straw man arguments about why like that's not a good thing to support. But
Today I have my good friend Chris Brown with me, also known as, I'm gonna say it wrong again. I know it. Kakophonix.
you did, you got it.
I got it. Um, um, you are the cellist, obviously, for OC and the Jupiter, and you have a new project, which that's another pronunciation I will probably butcher, but Opus and
Opus est sonare.
Estenare. Annabelle would say that perfectly.
Oh, I know.
um, you're also a session musician and a music teacher. So he's played on literally hundreds of records at this point. Yeah, it's kind of admirable too that you provide music lessons for kids. So we're going to cover a lot of topics, but let's first start off with our latest album, Larvatus. And how do you feel so far about the reception
Oh, it's
of the record?
overwhelmingly positive. People, some of our good friends have had nice things to say about it. People, complete strangers have had wonderful things to say about it. Uh, well, the reviews that are coming in have been largely positive. I mean, this is our first record as a three piece, and it's it has something to love for the fans of the more ambient Ozzy stuff and the more the folkier, grittier Ozzy stuff. So I think it really encapsulates where we are as a band and the various aspects of our sound and our message, and I think some pretty meaningful ways.
I agree. I actually have nothing to add to that. That's very well said. And then you recently dropped some music for your latest project, Opus and Centric.
Opus est sonare.
I shouldn't be allowed to talk about anything metal adjacent with my pronunciation skills,
It's all
even
good.
though it's not metal. But tell people a little bit about the project though, because I really like the transformative nature of this project the work you're doing with it.
Okay, so I mean, first of all, everything that I've dropped with it so far, I feel like it's still very much in the demo stage.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wanted to get stuff out there. The very first piece I wrote for that project was actually something that dates back to when I was a kid. The piece Your, the initial like arpeggiated guitar run, I wrote that when I was like 13 or 14.
Wow.
And and then I just sort of sat on it for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized, oh, I can actually like use this. And it became the piece Your. Uh, that was initially released. Well, first I just sent it to a few friends, but
Yeah.
it was initially released on a compilation for Palestine via Forest Summoner, who's a label that's based here in Southern California. I got a lot of hate for that. Um,
Oh, really?
oh yeah. No, I got called like a disgrace to black metal. I got called like a woke coward. I got called, I had people like making like, oh, but but this, and this, like really just straw man arguments about why like that's not a good thing to support. But I don't know. Sometimes if you get hate, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I just don't like. I don't. I still struggle, I guess, to understand what is so radical about being against genocide. Like,
yeah, me too.
I don't see that. I don't view that as like. Well, and I hate the derogatory nature of the term woke at
Of
this
course.
point too,
Yeah.
because like what started as one thing in a black communities co-opted by some disingenuous white people largely, and I see like where it can be weaponized and it can, but at the same time, like if you're mad about people standing up, I mean historically artists have been against war. That's nothing new in our generation. My dad's generation, they were against the Vietnam War, you know. Um, I personally, I don't understand that hate or pretending like black metal has never had any kind of political roots is frankly doesn't make sense to me either because
Yeah, that's a whole can of worms.
yeah,
But
we don't have to
the
go there, but you know,
yeah, the I don't know. I think the narrative surrounding Palestine has been so warped, and the the events have been misrepresented so much in the public consciousness that people don't recognize it for what it is. Um, but the reason I chose that piece in particular for the pro-Palestinian compilation is just because it's very much as I wrote something or finished something that I wrote as a literal child. It really has very much to do with sort of healing the inner child, which we can touch on later because my previous album with my previous project was very much the opposite of that.
right,
Um,
right,
the the this is sort of a reclaiming and healing of a wounded inner child, but also healing energy being directed towards a massive, unspeakable tragedy, I think is really appropriate.
yes, and I mean, not that that is even the only genocide that's been happening or happening in recent times. I've recently become more educated about, well, not, I'm still like, I've just heard people talking about it. I don't know enough about the politics of the Congo or Sudan, but there's other um, genocides occurring. It's kind of a wild time to be alive. Like, so I'm not like one of those people who's necessarily going to be like, attack someone for like focusing on Palestine or something, but I'm also not going to get mad at people who, you know, maybe aren't consistently talking about it or trying to cover a lot of things because there's a lot of terrible things happening right now. Um, like for you right now, being in California has got to be a mess with ice and
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
uh,
I and so back this that ties things back around to some of the music I dropped with Opus.
yeah.
The I did drop another piece uh simply called Courage that I wrote the initial guitar progression for when I was, at work because I work at a music store,
Mhm.
and that was election day and I was understandably very stressed.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna everything's gonna be okay. I'm gonna write this piece. I'm just gonna write a song, and I already voted. I'm not gonna worry about this right now. And then
Yeah.
we all know how things ended up.
Right.
I decided, you know what? I'm gonna take this piece, this energy, and direct it towards, giving people hope and courage, especially given in light of what's going on. So, me and my friend Sean Bania from Red Nebula, which is another label that's based here, decided to use that piece to raise money for VC Defensa, which is an anti-ICE organization. They uh, have a tip line to let people know when ICE is in the area. They directly obstruct ICE. They follow ICE and they make sure people know where they are at any given moment. And they also provide mutual aid, including food drop off. I don't know the full extent of what they do, but they're doing really solid work.
Yeah.
The funny thing about the song Courage is I wrote it to sound kind of like Finnish black metal. And then I showed it to my friend Sean Bania, and he's like, "Oh, this sounds like Coldplay." And I showed it to another friend, and he said, "Oh, this sounds like you too." And I was like, "That's not quite what I was going for, but it's catchy.
Yeah.
I'll take that."
Which,
I've
as
actually,
Finnish black metal is known to be as well.
yeah, catchy melodic riffs.
Yeah.
But I've of late I've grown to appreciate the art of simple but effective. When I was younger, I would just write things as fast and complex as possible, and I would do things that even my conservatory friends would have difficulty with because I would just made it unnecessarily hard just to prove a point or something because I was young and obtuse. And as I've gotten older, it's just, I don't know, music is a communicative tool, and whatever you can use to communicate more effectively is sort
And
of where I'm at now.
I think different writers go through can have like different ways of getting places. Like I even look at like I mean just look at bands that have been around for a long time, the way that they've changed. That's cool that you can talk about that though. I don't think there's anything wrong with being overly complicated. But then again, like when it comes to connecting with other people and listening, I think sometimes simple and direct, I think that's why that's some of the most popular music in the world.
Of course, and I don't regret anything I wrote when I was
Right.
younger. And the energy and the aggression and the urgency of it is something I appreciate from that time in my life.
Right.
Um, but now that I'm in a different phase and sort of reinventing the wheel, so to speak, I'm I'm realizing that you know maybe I like hooks and catchy melodies and things that can prove a point.
Do you think that maybe like some of the more complicated or the things that you were doing then it spoke more to the ego than something that was deeper inside you or
That's a very good question. Um, I don't necessarily know that I was coming at it from like this shred-tastic, like look at me, I can play super fast kind of place. I
right.
think I just wanted to play fast because I thought it was cool.
Hmm. That's
Like,
valid.
and a lot of people go through that phase.
Yeah.
And I had my blast bowing technique, which I still use sometimes, where it's basically a very fast tremolo spiccato where I'm essentially doing blast beats with my bow. That defined a lot of my early work and some of the later stuff as well. Um, but and it's still a technique I'm going to keep in my back pocket, but not everything
Oh,
is
for
that.
sure. Balance. Finding balance.
Oh yeah, that's a whole discussion in and of itself.
Um, so I'm gonna kind of like switch gears. I'm actually gonna read off my question because I took time with this one.
Okay.
Because one thing I really appreciate about you is your openness and talking about your autism diagnosis and how it shapes both your life and your music. For many people who are like neurodivergent, navigating interpersonal relationships can be tough. And those challenges often get amplified in a creative setting, like a band. From your own experience, what advice would you give to other neurodivergent musicians trying to work within a band dynamic?
So this is the first interview where I've actually talked about autism. Um,
Oh,
and that's okay. That's absolutely fine. I'm in a place where I can talk about this. I'm also much less invested in projecting a menacing persona. So here I am. The I'd say that the answers to your questions are stuff I'm still figuring out for myself. However, when I when I think about that, there's two main things that come to mind. A, understand and respect your own boundaries, but also understand and respect other people's boundaries, which for those of us on the spectrum is a challenge.
right,
Also understand and have the humility to admit when maybe you're rubbing people the wrong way and correct when needed, but also don't let people, by the same token, don't let people walk all over you or gaslight you. Because
right.
I've been in band settings where my autism is used against me.
Absolutely. Well,
And
you can feel, I think, and whether people have autism or any kind of neurodivergence, it's the way you can get othered or you might be told you're crazy. And I think if you've had any kind of diagnosis in your lifetime, maybe I'm projecting, it's my own personal experience, but when you've had any kind of diagnosis, it becomes kind of a scapegoat for people close to you too. So like you can bring up a valid point and have real feelings that are rational and they are grounded, absolutely grounded in reality, but in the wrong setting with the wrong people, that can absolutely be twisted against you.
oh yeah, no, when I was in an old band many like over a decade ago at this point, um I didn't like how fake a lot of the stuff was going. That was, there was, too many backing tracks, too many samples, too many, you know things that I thought were fake and,
Hmm.
too much cutting corners. And I think those are all valid points. So I tried to bring up the whole point of just artistic integrity, and they laughed at autistic integrity. Like they literally, that
Sorry, that's horrible.
it is horrible. And it just goes to show that, yeah, they'll some, the wrong people will use that against you.
Well, and that's actually one of my favorite things about autism. Not that like you can just, but I mean, it's the black and white thinking that is like character of it. Like it gives people a very strong sense of right and wrong, or what is like you should do this, you shouldn't do that. So like in a way, like that autistic integrity, I that could be like used as something like, yeah, that's actually something to be proud of, in my opinion, because it's like, yes, I have I think it's artistic integrity, not necessarily autism integrity in that point, because the whole reason, I don't know, that I was like drawn to rock, metal, like music that is you play an instrument, it's created, you're not taking samples from other music. I will say that that's a talent in its own right too. Like there's some degree of musicianship, but it's so different. It's somebody like getting good at mastering a program that can put sounds in compared to the time and dedication it takes to play an instrument or use your voice as one, are two completely different things. So I kind of trailed on that one. I'm sorry, but
Oh no, don't apologize.
uh,
It's all good. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the autistic sense of right and wrong, because one of the reasons I switched gears to Opus Scenario from my previous work is my previous work was, it's kind of impossible to talk about my artistic path without sort of the spiritual and like the
right.
psycho spiritual side of it. And I was very much on a darker, more misanthropic and nihilistic path with my previous work. And I kind of threw the baby out with the bathwater and tried to be this totally lawless, amoral, you know, nihilistic person. And I found the hard way that that doesn't work for me.
Right.
And with Opus as Scenario, I mean, really the whole point of that project is, I mean, it literally means the work is to heal. And the whole point of that project is to heal myself and others. And it's not anywhere near complete. I'm very much in the process of rebuilding my life artistically and spiritually and everything surrounding that.
But that's healing. Like, I mean, that is the true nature of healing. Like, I don't believe for a second that healing, like, you're ever healed, you're ever complete in that sense. Like, and I think like the work of change, and it's painful, it's brutal, it's some of the most hard things you'll ever do. And it comes in waves. Like, you don't just like hit an age and everything's like, oh, I got it all figured out now. And I don't trust anyone who does or who projects that, honestly, because the whole purpose, I'm going to quote Michel Foucault, who said, I'm not so much concerned with what I am, but what I am becoming, because the whole purpose of life and work is to be something you were not in the beginning. And so much of like what you've shared with me, I mean, here, and of course we talk all the time, is it's like really you're doing work that I think not enough people do with themselves. And it requires a level of self-awareness and grace. Really, you have to give yourself grace, and grace that other people often won't afford you to make the moves that you're making in your life. So I'm really proud of you. And I think this is a beautiful, beautiful outlet for you. And I think as you keep pushing it, everything that you're building and putting together inside now is going to continue to come out in that work you do.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Coming from you, that means quite a lot. And I'm one of the goals of this project. I mean, it's not a band yet. It's just me recording. by myself, which is fine for the time being. I'd eventually like it to be a band, with the right people. The One of the goals is to play for vulnerable and marginalized communities. The homeless, the incarcerated, the mentally ill, the people in recovery from addiction, whoever just needs music as a healing force in their lives. I'd love to play for those people. And at one point, I did do a performance for young adults with developmental disabilities. It was just a solo thing, but they really enjoyed it, and you could see their faces light up, and one of the best things I've ever done with music is play for those young people and provide them with something that they don't get every day, and that was yeah, incredibly rewarding and incredibly fulfilling for me.
That's awesome. And now this, because this can kind of like work into here, because I mean, as a session artist, obviously your most stable source of income from being a musician is from teaching, because that's you're like, a 9 to 5, not, I don't know your hours exactly, but
They could be better, if I'm
um
being honest.
and then next up would be session work, because that is where people are hiring you to come in, play songs on a track, and or several tracks, an entire album. And then of course, being a musician in your own band, writing your own material is often extremely hard to earn any kind of revenue from, let alone one that you could actually like live off of. So when you're talking about using your art for healing, it seems like in a more nonprofit setting, because
It really
how
depends.
pardon?
It really depends.
Okay.
There are, to my limited knowledge, there are grants available for this sort of thing.
Oh, very cool.
There's also the field of music therapy, which I don't know a ton about, but would like to learn more about. That much, I was actually looking into it, and they made it very clear that you have to have piano and guitar chops because you have to be able to sing and play songs for people. And I'm a cello player, so
Right.
I'd need to maybe make some adjustments here and there. But um, when it comes to the general revenue side of things, yeah, even teaching, I mean, ebbs and flows.
Right.
Students go on vacation, students leave, parents get persnickety for some reason or another. I've admittedly had some crazy, crazy parents.
I can believe that.
Yeah, there was one mom that canceled a lesson on me and then came back and then showed up anyway and then made it my problem and then screamed at the girl at the front desk and said like, oh, he doesn't care about my son, he doesn't care about teaching my son. I'm like,
You canceled the class.
yeah. And I went on break, which I was promised. I went and got coffee, came back, you were there pacing around angrily and made it my fault. So yeah, that's its own little tidbit. But the yeah, teaching is the most stable thing for me right now. Uh, but I'm actually in the process of sort of re configuring what my music career is going to look like as a stable revenue source. I actually recently took some aptitude tests because I was
Mhm.
curious, like, what am I good at, employability wise? And turns
Yeah.
out I'm kind of just good at music. Turns
I
out I'm good at.
mean, I can vouch for that. Yeah, you're you're one of the best musicians I've ever worked with.
Thank
So
you. Yeah, I'm good at abstract thinking and music, and that's about it.
that's, I mean, that's hard to, it's, I mean, downsides of capitalism, right? Like we can't all do the things we're the best at, or the things that bring us the most joy and reward. What do you think? Do you think that that's going to affect what you choose to do going forward with music, or are you going to be one of those I'm going to go get some kind of side job people?
Well, I'm considering just sort of reconfiguring my business model to make myself more, make my appeal a little broader, I suppose. Because I kind of, for the longest time, pigeonholed myself into the, black metal edgelord market, which, as I found out the hard way, isn't very lucrative. And
Metal, not lucrative? Get out of
particularly
town.
particularly paint and spikes, recorded on a potato black metal. Like that it's rewarding in its own way, but it's not exactly a cash cow.
Yeah.
But what's been really interesting for me is over the last year or couple years, I've done more folk projects. I've done a lot more acoustic projects. Um, one that's coming up is Zwischenlichten from Germany. The first OZ tour that we did in Europe, actually, we met him,
Oh,
and
very cool.
he's Nico is not Eisenwald Nico, different Nico.
I
Um,
figured.
but he's a Zwischenlichten is very just rootsy, very mystical German folk,
I
and
love that.
it's
Yeah.
great. It's great. I think you'll love the album when it comes out. It drops next month.
Awesome.
Um, and Yeah, and there's a couple more folk projects that I'm not at liberty to discuss right now, but it's really special, very intimate stuff. Um, and then of course there's the work we do with Ozzy, which is,
Yeah.
we're all very grateful for, and it's really I'm very taken aback by what that music means to people, and I imagine you
But
are
me
too.
too. After going on that European tour and talking to different people and how they come up to you and like, well, I mean, Sean is really the catalyst of that. Like, I
It's
was
his
like, I
music.
was blown back by how welcoming people were of me because, like we've talked about, I was kind of like, I'm just like, in addition to the band, I just want to like add stuff to the live setting, whatever. But just people were so warm. And the one woman that we met in Lille, I still like, I think about her and all the hardships she went through and how that was like her first show in years after music giving her seizures, and that OC was one of the few things like she was able to start listening to again, and that whole journey like driving much further because she could have seen us in Bruges, but she wanted a place where she could sit down and just, and it's so moving to know like there's still people out in this world that put such emphasis and on music and are dedicated to going out to it. Like versus being here in the States where sometimes like you can't get someone to drive down the road on a weeknight to go see like a show that they're not going to be able to see again, because this band's in from whatever country or out of state. And it's like, I think people can take certain things for granted. And then just like her perspective, everything she had been through, it made me cry there. And I still get like teary thinking about her. Just amazing, amazing, like what music can actually do for people. And we treat music and art in general, not just music, tattoos, paintings, because people can go buy a $5 painting at Walmart or whatever, that it's like the same thing as someone who, poured hours and hours and pain into, or beauty, whatever, into something. We treat art like it's this luxury, like, oh, it's something you can enjoy after all these other things have been met. And really, it's the very fabric that like enhances our lives. And for me, that tour like really affirmed some things that I kind of was like losing hope in over here.
No, I absolutely agree. That lady in France and some of the other people who came up to us and shared what Ozzy does for them was incredibly humbling, but also reaffirms the sense that we have a responsibility. We have a
Right.
responsibility to our listeners to enhance their lives and to provide something on the psycho spiritual level that is healing. And the where was I going with this? The it's very interesting to me that a lot of the projects I was part of that were darker and more chaotic have fallen through, but Ozzy's still here in my life because I think that actually sort of affirms what my actual trajectory is as opposed to what I thought it was.
Right.
And the it was a friend of ours who will remain respectfully anonymous who said to me about my previous work, it's good music, it just doesn't align with your frequency anymore.
I
And
know who said that.
yeah, and it's
And if he happens to watch this, hi.
I highly doubt he won't. So but the let's yeah, we have a responsibility with what we're doing, and it's very it's humbling, and it should be taken seriously.
Absolutely. Now, like, are you are you worried that you have to have like, because this is such meaningful work needed now, but obviously in our country things are kind of, not kind of, they're hitting, shit's hitting the fan
To say the
faster.
least, yes.
Yeah. Are you, I don't know how to word this exactly, because I'm kind of like, are you worried that that change in the political landscape will affect this trajectory?
Yes, and then no.
Okay.
I worry, and then I remember that this trajectory is actually more necessary under these circumstances. It's actually more needed under the circumstances that we find ourselves in as a country. I feel like it's not going to be easy and may not be lucrative at first, but it's
Right.
something that needs to be done.
Yes. Do you want to elaborate a little further, like why under these circumstances art would be more necessary?
Well, because people are struggling, and you know, and a lot of people are losing hope.
Yeah.
And I feel like providing that hope and providing that boost to people is, like, again, a responsibility.
Yeah,
Uh, and I feel like providing anything that can help us collectively through this is worth doing.
I agree. And like going through all this right now, these times, how are you coping? Is music your predominant way of coping right now?
That's a good question. Um, I think I'm going to answer yes. I'm also at a place in life where I'm choosing to make better lifestyle choices. Like I'm getting back on exercising and eating better and stuff like that, and generally just taking better care of myself because I have to.
Yeah,
But music is definitely something I couldn't get through this without.
absolutely. So, like, I don't know. I guess we can kind of wrap up. But so, what was, I want to revisit the German folk project you have coming out. What was the name of that again?
Zwischenlichten.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to text me that.
Will do. Will do. It's a
Because
lot of
I would
letters.
love to
It's a lot
provide
of
a
letters.
link.
But
Um,
that drops in September, I think, towards the end of the month.
that's nice.
There's one single available so far, but it's going to be out on House of Incantation,
Oh, okay.
and I believe Martin from House of Incantation actually provides percussion and auxiliary instruments on the
Oh,
album.
very cool.
But Nico is obviously the driving force. I think someone who, I could be mistaken, but I think someone who contributed to Sour is also on it,
Okay,
with flute. I'd have to check back, but it's there's a few guest artists on it.
very
But
cool.
it's a very good album, and there's other albums that are set to be announced or released before year's end that I'm not at liberty to talk about, but there are some really, really good and special ones.
That's awesome. And people can follow you if they want to get on those, just stay informed and keep up with that. And you are available for session work.
Always.
So always that people.
Please, more, please. um, Always, yes. I
Now what?
will.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I had nothing meaningful to say.
I try to watch. It's that ADHD. I'm like, I don't mean to do it. It's not. I just
It's all
get
good.
excited. I was gonna say, like, what about like cello lessons? Like, is that something you think you'd ever venture into virtually?
Already have. I
Yeah.
had one student who continued with me for a while from Australia.
Cool.
My friend Sarah. She was a fan of the Darker by Design album, which is the one deathcore album I played on.
Very
The
cool.
one and only deathcore album I played on. Uh, you know, it was from Texas of all places, but uh, she was from Australia and liked that album enough that she decided she needed to take lessons. And we
Was
made
she
that
a
happen.
total beginner, or do
Yeah,
people like if they?
initially, but she actually got pretty far.
Okay, so like if someone has never picked up a cello in their life, you could help them.
Yes, I wouldn't be good at my job if I couldn't.
Okay. I'm just checking because I know
Yeah.
some instructors they prefer, because there's certain things that are maybe harder to do in a virtual setting, if you don't have certain
Well,
skills.
it is harder in a virtual setting because I can't help like move your fingers and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
the it can work, and I'm certainly open to doing it in the future.
hmm.
Uh, I had a couple students who continued because my first teaching job shut down during the pandemic. Just little family owned business that went under, which is
Oh,
that sad, of course. But I had a couple students who continued with me. One student's mom ended up hooking me up with my current job, which was nice.
awesome.
So, yeah, I'm certainly open to remote teaching, when the opportunity presents itself and if anyone would like to.
Very cool. That's something good to promote here then too,
Absolutely.
depending on who sees it. And
Absolutely.
anything for Opus coming up?
I'm not releasing. Okay. So I recently dropped a live EP
Yeah.
of just a very stripped down solo cello performance I did in Boyle Heights, opening for Returning.
Hmm.
And my friends in Destroy Judas also played. Joey Molinaro, who's a violinist, also played. But this is also going to be a Red Nebula release.
Very
Uh,
cool.
and Red Nebula is planning on releasing the cassette version of it sooner than later.
Awesome.
Um, at the moment, it's just available digitally. Beyond that, I'm not planning on releasing anything further until I have an album ready.
Okay.
I feel like I can wrap up this sort of introductory demo phase of the project and focus on creating quality.
Yeah. Go back into the cellar and get it all together. Yeah.
Absolutely.